Good day, everyone. Welcome to another lecture on question, answers, and why. Particularly ang subject matter natin ngayon is agricultural economics. So let's start these five questions, starting with this question. Capitalism is an economic system that, letter A, presence of essential freedoms, letter B, absence of a central economic plan, letter C, promotes private ownership of resources, or letter D, all of the above. So what we are looking for here is the characteristics of capitalism. Okay? Is it A, B, C, or all of the above? Now, before answering that, we need to understand what is capitalism. Now, capitalism is an economic system practiced by most nations here on Earth. And ito yung mga karakteristik ng isang capitalistic economic system. Unang-una, a capitalistic economic system allows private ownership of resources. Ibig sabihin yan, individuals and businesses can own resources and means of production. So pwede silang magmay-ari ng equipment, pwede silang magmay-ari ng lupa, building, anything that can help them produce goods and services for the people. So that's what it means that capitalism allows private ownership. Pangalawang characteristic ng capitalism is that market economy sila. What does a market economy mean? It means that the prices, yung presyo and at the same time yung production ng goods and services sa bansa na yun are determined by the dance of the supply and demand in the market. Okay? So yung presyo and yung quantity na pinuproduce or sinusupply is determined by the forces of the demand and supply. So yung balancing forces ng demand and supply, yun yung nagdidikta kung ano yung magiging presyo nung particular good or service na yun. And yun din yung magdidetermine kung ilan ang isusupply ng mga producers natin. There is also economic freedom sa capitalism, wherein people can choose kung ano yung gusto nilang trabaho, kung ano yung gusto nilang business, kung ano yung investment na gagawin nila. They are also free to choose kung negosyo man yung pinili nila, kung ano yung ipoproduce nila. And ilan. And people under a capitalistic economic system are also free to choose to buy what they need. Depende sa kung ano yung personal na pangangailangan nila. Hindi sila dinidiktahan ng gobyerno kung ano yung dapat bilhin nila at kung ano yung dapat i-produce ng mga businesses. And they are also under this system, businesses are also profit motive. So bakit sila nagtatayo ng business? Para kumita and to make more profit. Yun yung main motivation. And because of these four characteristics, ibig sabihin yan, under a capitalistic economic system, minimal lamang yung intervention ng gobyerno. In fact, wala tayong central economic plan. What does that mean? Wala tayong plano kung ilan lang yung ipuproduce natin per good and services na nasa bansa natin and ilan lang din yung ikukonsume ng mga household. So hindi nangingialam yung gobyerno doon sa aspeto ng relationship between the buyer and the consumer. May mga times na kailangan niyang mag-intervene, like especially kapag sobrang taas na yung presyo ng pangunahing bilihin. But in general, walang plano yung government kung ilan ba ang dapat na i-produce na gulay, ilan ba yung dapat lang bilhin ng mga household na gulay, wala yon. So very minimal ang intervention ng government. So yun yung mga characteristic ng isang capitalistic economic system. Now, what I want to do is to contrast capitalism with its opposite, which is communism. Ano naman ang communism? Communism is the opposite of a capitalistic economic system. So it is also an economic system, pero kabaliktaran siya ng kapitalismo. So ibig sabihin mo nun, unang-una, bawal ang private ownership. Hindi po pwede na individual ka, magmamay-ari ka ng any means of production. Dapat pagmamay-ari daw yan ng gobyerno and pagmamay-ari yan ng tao. Pangalawa, planned economy or merong central economic planning. So yung gobyerno nila under a communist economic system will plan and control yung production ng mga pangunahing bilihin or the things that this nation will have to buy and to use to survive. They will also control yung prices and at the same time, they will control yung distribution ng mga goods and services na to. Kasi ang aim sa isang communist economic system ay ma-eliminate yung social classes. What does that mean? Under a capitalistic system kasi, mayroon kang mayayaman, mayroon kang mahihirap. Ngayon, sa communist system daw, gusto natin i-flatten yung pyramid na yon. Dapat walang mayaman, dapat walang mahirap, lahat daw pantay-pantay ang makukuha na wealth. And the government will do all of its power. So, ibig sabihin, there's a government control wherein the government has a significant control over all aspects of the economy and society. It is the government who will decide what to produce, for example. It is the government who will decide when to produce it, how much, okay? How are we going to produce it? For whom are we going to produce it? All of these things, government ang nagdidikta, hindi po yung forces, yung balancing forces ng demand and supply na kanina pinag-usapan natin under capitalistic economic system. Now, given that we have already defined what capitalism and what communism is, let's try to go back to this question. Capitalism is an economic system of present ba ang essential freedoms as we have discussed before? Yes, exactly. Wala bang central economic plan? Absence of a central economic plan? Yep, wala rin po. How about promoting private ownership of resources? Yes, under capitalistic economic system din yan. So given that, ang sagot natin is letter D, all of the above. Now let's move with question number 2. It is a study of a proposed project. So it is a study of a proposed project. It is a study or evaluation of a project to indicate whether yung proposal na to is attractive enough to justify a more detailed preparation. Ano daw kaya ang tawag sa pag-aaral na to? Kung saan ini-evaluate daw natin ang isang project proposal para malaman kung worth it ba na i-pursue ito and for a more detailed preparation. Ang tawag ba dyan ay feasibility study, that's letter A, market study, technical study, or financial study. Now what I'm going to do is to show you the answer. Straightforward, ang sagot dito ay feasibility study. So what is feasibility study? Well, a feasibility study is a study that evaluates two things. Una, practicality ng project or negosyo na gusto nating i-implement. And pangalawa, yung kanyang potential success. So yun yung purpose ng feasibility study. Inaalam natin, practical ba na i-pursue itong project or negosyo na to? And mayroon ba siyang potential for success? Kasi kung hindi practical, masyadong mahal, wag na nating i-pursue. Kung hindi rin lang naman magta-thrive or magsa-survive or magiging successful, edi wag na lang din natin i-pursue. Yun yung pinag-aaralan sa isang feasibility study. Ngayon, ang feasibility study, maraming aspeto yung pinag-aaralan dyan when it comes to the project and the business. Una, it looks at various aspects. Unang-una dyan, yung technical aspect, yung marketing aspect, yung economic, yung legal, yung political, yung operational considerations, yung financial. So all of these things, pinag-aaralan yan para malaman kung practical ba and may potential ba yung project or yung negosyo na mag-succeed. So it helps people who are pursuing this project or this business to decide whether they are going to move forward with detailed planning and preparation or not. Now, why are the other choices not the correct answer? For example, market study. Well, market study is only a portion of the feasibility of a feasibility study. Ano ang focus ng market study? As the name suggests, it focuses on analyzing yung mga market conditions natin, including demand and supply, yung competition, sino yung target audience, ano yung consumer behavior. Napaka-importante ng isang market study sa isang feasibility study, pero isa lang siyang component ng feasibility study. And it will not encompass every aspects na kailangan to determine yung overall attractiveness ng isang proyekto or ng isang negosyo. So, mali ang market study. Kulang, kumbaga. Part lang kasi siya ng feasibility study. The same is true with a technical study. Ano naman ang technical study? Ang pinag-aaralan natin dito, ang focus is yung technical requirement or yung solution nung project or nung business. So, ibig sabihin yan, pinag-aaralan natin yung process. Ano ba yung process nung magiging negosyo? Ano ba yung mga equipment na kakailanganin? Ano ba yung mga technical expertise na kakailanganin? So all of these things, talking about operations, paano yung pagpapatakbo ng negosyo, we are focusing on the technical aspect of the project. So it's essential, very essential of course, kasi kailangan nating maintindihan kung technically feasible ba yung negosyo. Pero again, it does not cover yung broader scope ng feasibility study natin. So isang aspeto lang po yan. Number three, which is also a part of a feasibility study, is what we call as a financial study naman. So sa financial study, ang tinitignan natin is yung financial aspect ng business or ng project. Such as what? Yung cost, okay? Yung revenue na pwede nating ma-receive, or revenue projections. Yung funds, saan natin kukunin yung pera para simulan tong negosyo na to or yung project na to. Though all of these things are critical, but then again, it does not encompass the totality of our feasibility study. Therefore, financial study is also not the correct answer. But the correct answer is, of course, feasibility study. Okay? Kasi yan yung kabuuan, pinag-aaralan natin lahat para malaman kung attractive enough ba or to justify detailed kung attractive enough ba yung negosyo or yung project, and if we are going to move forward with detailed preparation. Next question. Individuals or business concerns that specialize in performing the various marketing functions involved in the purchase and sale of goods as they move from producers to consumers. So ano daw kayang tawag sa mga individuals or business na to na ang pinaka-concern nila is marketing function. So what does that mean? Ano yung function na marketing? It involves yung purchase and sale of good as they move from producers to consumers. So bibilhin nila and then basically i-direct or i-connect lang nila yung produkto na yon sa mga consumers. Remember ang function, yung tinatanong dito sa tanong na to is individuals or businesses na ang pinaka-function nila is marketing. And ano yung ibig sabihin ng marketing sa konteksto ng question na to? It is the purchase and sale of goods as they move from producers to consumers. Ano kayang tawag doon? Do we call them a merchant middleman, a middleman, processors and manufacturers, or wholesalers? Now, to answer this question, I need to present to you yung interaction ng producer, processor, middleman, and consumer in a moving market or in the marketing activity of these agents. Okay? So unang-una, paano ba nagsisimula yung pag-consume ng produkto bilang consumer? So nagsisimula yan of course sa producers, or in the case of agricultural economics, nagsisimula yan sa ating mga farmers. So the products, the goods, the commodities start with your producers, with your farmers. And to simply put yung produce ni farmer, dadaan kay middleman, bibilhin ni middleman, and then si middleman, siya na yung magbibigay kay consumer or magbebenta kay consumer. So bakit kaya hindi na lang diretso si producer kay consumer? Well, even though that is an ideal case, what happens is, yung mga farmers kasi natin, minsan, madalas pala, malalayo sila sa lugar kung saan maraming consumers. Kaya mayroon tayong middleman and may mga types yan na pag-uusapan natin mamaya. Now, the other way that this can happen is that yung produkto ni farmer ay bibilhin ni processor or manufacturer. However, si processor and manufacturer hindi marketing yung kanyang trabaho. Ano? As the name suggests, ang kanyang trabaho is processing. So that means bibilhin niya yung produkto kay farmer, pero gagawa siya ng another product from those product. For example, bumili siya ng strawberry kay farmer, pwede niyang gawing strawberry jam bago niya idiretso sa middleman, or sometimes pwede rin namang diretso na kay consumer. However, this is the key thing, okay? Sa interaction ni producer, middleman, and consumer, parehas lang yung produkto. Pero pag dumaan yun kay processor or manufacturer, magkakaroon ng pagbabago yung produkto. Ibig sabihin yan, it undergoes a process. Like yung example natin kanina, from strawberry going to strawberry jam. From Chinese cabbage going to kimchi. So, hindi parehas yung produkto na magfo-flow sa case dito sa baba. Now, again, ang purpose ng processor and manufacturer ay hindi para i-market yung produkto, pero para magdagdag ng value or ibahin yung form ng ating product. And there are many types of middleman. Pag-uusapan natin yung mga nasa choices. Mayroon tayong tinatawag na merchant middleman. Merchant middleman, they own the product, they own the goods once they bought it from the farmer. So, kapag merchants middleman, ang ibig sabihin yan, binili niya kay farmer yung produkto and nagkaroon siya ng ownership dun sa produkto na yon bago niya ibibenta sa consumer. Kapag ang opposite niyan is yung tinatawag nating agent middleman. Ang agent middleman is a representative of the buyer. So, kunwari, si agent middleman, nakahanap siya ng buyer para doon sa mga produce ni farmer. Kakausapin niya si farmer, para ma-close yung deal, and kapag na-close yung deal, magkakaroon siya ng commission, and yun yung payment niya basically for that transaction. Now, some types of merchant middleman you would say is your wholesaler, which is these are the buyers or merchant middleman that buys in bulk. Tapos mostly ang pinagpapasahan nila dyan is yung other type, which is the retailer. Dito yung mga retailers na bumibili, ang mga retailers sila naman yung mga merchant middleman na bumibili ng mga tingi-tingi lamang. Now, given this process, again, ang question is, ano daw ang tawag doon sa mga individuals or businesses na ang specialization nila is to perform marketing functions, okay? Marketing, yung function nila, which involves the purchase and sale of goods as they move from producers to consumers. Now, let's go back to this question. Tama ba na letter C ang magiging sagot? Okay? O, inulit-ulit ko to kanina, letter C ang hindi tamang sagot because processors and manufacturers, hindi marketing ang main na function nila. Ang main na function nila is processing. They create new product out of the product that they bought from the farm. How about middleman or middlemen? Marketing ba ang pinaka-function nila? Moving the product from the farm to the consumer? Yes, exactly. Yun yung pinaka-function nila. And that makes middleman the right answer. Bakit hindi merchant middleman and bakit hindi wholesaler? Because merchant middleman and wholesaler is only a type of middleman. Okay? Type lang sila. Pero ang hinihingi dito is in general, ano daw yung tawag doon sa individual or business that is performing the marketing function that moves products from the farm going to the consumer. And pinakatamang sagot is yung middleman natin. Okay, question number 4. What do you call the exchange of goods and services across international boundaries? Napakadali, di ba? Regional trade, domestic trade, local trade, or international trade. Nasa question na mismo yung sagot, tama? So ano yung sagot? It's international trade. Now, what is international trade? International trade is the exchange of goods and services between countries. Napakasimple. So the exchange of goods and services between several countries in the world. Now, bakit mahalaga ang international trading? Because it allows nations, it allows yung mga bansa natin to expand yung market nila for both goods and services. Otherwise, hindi magiging available yung domestically or possible na kulang yung domestic market nila kung hindi sila, if they will not pursue international trading. So as a result, international trade can actually help grow one's economy. So nagkakaroon ng economic growth, na-enhance din yung efficiency, and nagkakaroon ng multiple choices of products, of goods and services sa ating mga consumers. Why are the other answers not correct? For example, regional trade. Ano ba kasi ang regional trade? Ang regional trade is a trade within a specific region lamang. So for example, magkakatabing countries like yung ating ASEAN nation, right? We have several countries na magkakalapit lamang and nagkakaroon sila ng trading doon sa area na yun, din ang tawag mo doon, regional trade. Okay? How about domestic trade? What is that? Domestic trade is yung exchange of goods and services within your domestic zone or within your country itself. So it involves yung mga buyers and sellers mo na bumibili and nagbebenta ng mga different product. So hindi involved dyan yung ibang mga bansa kasi nga domestic trade, okay? Nandun ka lang sa domestic lokal mo. Similar to that is yung local trade. Okay? Pero yan, mas maliit pa yan. Kasi it involves now a trade within a smaller or localized area. Maaring city yan, maaring town, maaring municipality. So yan naman yung local trade. So it is the most limited in scope and it focus only on very specific and localized regions. So for example, domestic trade, pwedeng taga Benguet ka pero bumili ka ng produkto sa Manila. So that's still domestic trade kasi within the Philippines pa rin. Local trade, taga Benguet ka and bumili ka ng produkto na nandun din sa Benguet. So mas maliit na naman, mas maliit na naman yung scope ng isang local trading activity. Okay? So ang pinakatamang sagot diyan, since it is asking the exchange of goods and services across international boundaries, so ang pinakatamang sagot is your international trade. Now, I forgot to mention that in terms of international trade, mayroong dalawang advantage dyan. Well, basically, isa lang. The advantage is economic growth through comparative advantage. Bakit ba kasi nagkakaroon, for example, ng comparative advantage? Well, bakit pa kasi nagkakaroon ng economic growth? Because of the phenomenon of comparative advantage. What does comparative advantage means? It means if you are a country that can produce a good the most efficient that you can, dapat yun yung isa sa mga pinagfo-focusan ng production efforts mo. And kapag sobrang dami na yung supply na yun, nung good na yun sa bansa mo, dapat mo siyang i-export para mapakinabangan. And kung ikaw naman yung isang country na hindi yun yung specialization na production mo, for example, kapag magpo-produce ka ng good na yun sa bansa mo is masyadong mahal, kailangan angkatin mo na lang yun sa isang bansa na efficient yung production nila. So kapag nangyari yung ganong kind of synergy, nagkakaroon daw ng economic growth. Like for example, Mexico is known for growing avocados. Ayun, marami ang nag-grow nilang avocado and maliit yung opportunity cost nila because the country Mexico has has the right climate to grow avocado. So para for them to take advantage of comparative advantage, it means they should produce more and more of the avocado. Ngayon, si US, na hindi ganun kaganda yung climate nila to produce avocado, ang dapat daw ang gawin niya para din magka-benefit siya doon sa comparative advantage ay kumuha ng avocado kay Mexico. Kasi mas mura yung pagkuha ng avocado kay Mexico kaysa yung pag-produce ng sarili nilang avocado sa bansa nila. Kasi climatic-wise, hindi naman mag-grow ang avocado sa US. They can try, pero they need a facility that would replicate yung climate na kailangan sa pagpapalaki ng avocado. Now, on the other hand, si Mexico ay hindi ganun kaakma yung kanyang environment to produce apple. Whereas si US naman, nakakapag-produce siya ng sandamakmak na apple because of dahil doon sa kanyang climatic conditions. So, ang gagawin naman daw ni Mexico, huwag na siyang mag-produce ng apple. Ang katin na lang niya, yung apple ni US kasi mas mura daw yun. So, both nations can actually take advantage of comparative advantage that would lead now to economic growth. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng international trade leading to economic growth through the concept of comparative advantage. Last question. This is the form, okay, this is the form of economic integration that removes all barriers on trade among members, okay, but each nation retains its own tariff rates against non-members. So dalawa yung condition dyan. Tinatanong dyan is ano daw yung tawag sa economic integration that, condition 1, yung mga barriers to trade among members ng economic integration na yon nawawala. And number 2 na condition is bawat nation ay may sarili silang policies kung paano nila i-implement yung tariff rate against non-members. So yes, the first condition is wala nang trade barrier among member countries, pero may sarili-sarili din silang mga policy kung how they will deal with tariff between countries na hindi part ng member ng economic integration nila. Ano daw kaya ang tawag doon? The answer here is free trade area. Okay? Free trade area po ang tamang sagot dyan. So bakit? Kasi sa free trade area, ito yung economic integration kung saan yung member countries, so mayroon kang mga bansa na members of that free trade area, they will all agree na mawawala, for example, yung tariff, quota, and other preferences on goods and services traded between them. So yun yung first condition ng isang free trade area. However, yung mga bansa na kasama doon sa area na yun, they still maintain independent trade policies and tariff towards or against non-member countries. So kahit na mayroon silang agreement as members, kung paano sila makipag-deal with non-members, may sari-sarili silang policy. Yan yung ibig sabihin ng isang free trade area. Okay? Now, i-contrast natin sila dun sa other choices. Customs union. Ngayon, customs union, it goes a step further than free trade area. Kasi una, yes, members will remove trade barriers among themselves, pero yung mga members din ng isang customs union, mayroon silang unified or pare-parehas na trade policy among non-members. Which is not the case sa isang free trade area. Kasi remember, sa free trade area, inaalis nga nila yung tariff and other barriers among members, pero may sarili-sarili silang independence on how to deal with non-members dun sa free trade area na yon. Whereas sa customs union naman, bukod sa inaalis yung trade barriers among themselves, pare-parehas din yung kanilang, let's say, external tariff policy towards non-members. So yun yung customs union. Now, puntahan naman natin ang economic union. Ano naman ibig sabihin yan? Mas malalim na naman na integration to. Kasi yung mga member countries, hindi lang pare-parehas yung kanilang tariff policy, but rather pare-parehas yung mga different economic policies nila, including monetary and fiscal policies. Isa sa mga pinaka-example ng isang economic union is yung ating European Union, kung saan mayroon silang standardized na economic regulations. Mayroon silang halos pare-parehas yung kanilang currency. So for some members, and coordinated yung mga different economic policies nila such as fiscal and monetary policies. Therefore, ang pinakatamang sagot dito is yung free trade area. Ang economic market is a vague term, letter B, is a very vague term, kaya naman hindi siya kasama sa choices. In fact, if I'm going to read this question again, I would certainly eliminate letter B agad. Ang matitira na sa akin is A, C, and D. So, free trade area, aalisin nila yung barriers between members pero may sari-sarili silang policy on how to deal with non-members. Custom union, walang barrier, between members pero may similar trade policy sila among non-members. And yung economic union naman is yung pinakamalalim na kasi hindi lang trade yung pinag-uusapan, pati yung mga different economic policies pare-parehas na between member countries.